Termites. It's night 6. Are you excited about that? I am. I'm having another light Pinot. As many of you know, I don't drink anything thick or red like that because I'm allergic to it. Then somebody told me about a thing called the wand. Can someone repeat that? I read it. It takes out the tannins. This is Larkspur from Dundee, Oregon. And where is the other Dundee? Scotland. And who is from there? One of my favorite actors of all time, Brian Cox. If you don't know who that is, look him up. He's an older critter at this point, but I love him. He's in the show Billions now. Just a little side notes of so we're back on Liberace. This book is getting good quick too. And this is my paper doll book. I'm going to show you this paper doll, and this one, the quote is, excuse me, diplomacy, tact, and a really big checkbook are key if you plan to attend the Black Tie PETA fundraiser in your favorite safari-themed formal wear. Not only did he come in a safari outfit with a faux fur coat, maybe it was real back then, I don't even know, but he brought a monkey that he put sequins on and a hat. How do you not want this guy at your party? And the bonus, he has a monkey. I mean, I'd be just excited enough if it was just Liberace. He has like velvet safari pants and a safari jacket, and then that coat. We'll put that right there. See if he'll stand up on his own. Look at that. Standing up on his own. Okay, night 6. This is a lot of good reading for $3.98. This is the part, remember his dad is fooling around and his mother's starting to catch on. He has figured out that if he makes classical music funny, he will have more fans. Excellent idea. Inevitably, Frances Liberace learned of her husband's mistress, the cello teacher, Zona Smrz. Remember her, the lady with no vowel in her name? S-M-R-Z. Smrz. She erupted with Polish fury. I'm not sure I'm familiar with Polish fury. Throwing Sam and his clothing out of the house. Over the disapproval of the parish priest, she consulted a lawyer about a divorce. That was a big deal back then. You just didn't do that. They would say no. Anytime somebody would mention divorce to one of my grandmas, they would say, well, you know, you have a higher place in heaven if you stay with them. What? That was the thinking back then. She poured out her grievances, not only his adulterous behavior, but his failure to provide for his family, as well as other misdemeanors. At one point, the lawyer interrupted her and said, Mrs. Liberace, does your husband have another name besides, quote, that old bastard? Good for her. I would have said no, put it down as that. Just put that. The divorce was granted. That was very avant-garde. It was granted in 1941. 2 years later, Sam married Zona Smrz, and they moved to Middleton so she could be close to the University of Wisconsin at Madison. She had become proficient in art with plastics. What? And the university had made developments in the field. Art with plastics. Huh. She continued her art career, and Sam played with the Madison Symphony, so he finally got another gig. They remained married until her death many years later. Frances Liberace was married in 1943, 2 years later, to another Italian, Alexander Casadonte. He had come from Sam's village, in Italy, and had roomed with the Liberaces after his arrival. There was some talk among the neighbors that a romance between Frances and the boarder had developed before she threw Sam out. Well, so what? Sam's already cheating on her. He died in 1945, and Frances never married again. After the divorce of his parents, it would be more than a dozen years before Walter would see his father again. Aw, that's too bad. The guy ran away. By 1941, America was mobilizing for war, and George Liberace, that's his brother, Walter, enlisted in the Navy. Walter was called in the draft, but a childhood back injury exempted him from military service. Walter was becoming more and more confused about his double career and poured out his feelings to Florence Kelly. I don't know who I am, he complained. I know what you're going through, she said sympathetically. You don't know whether you want to be a concert pianist or a nightclub entertainer. Why don't you combine the two? Hello? Winner, winner. Play some classics, then give them something popular. Exactly. Make them think they're getting something uplifting, then slides in some uplift. They're getting some uplift, cultural uplift. Then slide in something melodic and familiar. It'll work, Walter. I know it will. But how? I can't play Litz at the Green Room. I think it's time for you to move on. You've gone as far as you can in Wisconsin. You've got to reach a more sophisticated audience. I think you should go to New York. Walter had thought about it, of course. He had listened to the radio concerts conducted by Walter Damaroche and Arturo Toscanini, and he had imagined himself playing with them in Carnegie Hall. He also heard popular pianists like Vincent Lopez and Eddie Duchin appearing in places like the Rainbow Room and the Central Park Casino. Walter had never been east of Chicago, and New York seemed like the distant, unattainable dream. Or was it? I felt like that in St. Louis. Like, New York was just in the movies. Like, I don't think, yeah. It just seemed like very far away. But I also thought in the Midwest that Harvard was closed. I did. I thought those places closed, like, after Love Story. Probably because I didn't know anybody who went there, but you just didn't hear about it. Like, I figured it was, like, from the movies. I don't know. I really did think that. Probably until, like, an hour ago. Where are we at? Jay Mills provided the opportunity. He had broken up his band to accept a position as Master of Ceremonies and Entertainment Director at Pal's Cabin, a nightclub in West Orange, New Jersey. Okay, that's not really New York. It's fine. There's a comedy club there. But I wouldn't call it... and this is what they actually... I remember you talked about playing in New York someday. Well, West Orange ain't exactly New York, but it's close. Well, it's a lot closer than Wisconsin. I will give the man that. If you want to come here, I'll put you to work. Think about it, kid. Walter had a tearful farewell with Mom, who offered repeated warnings about the perils of a big city and said goodbye to his former bandmates in the mixers and boarded the train for the East. Pal's Cabin proved to be more impressive than it had sounded. Beginning as a hot dog stand, should have stayed one. Nothing better than a good hot dog stand. It proved so popular that the owners kept building on until they had a complete entertainment complex. The New Jersey audiences were friendly and receptive, and Mills assured Walter of steady employment. New York was still Walter's goal, and he went there often to savor its wonders. New York, on first sight, was impressive to any Midwesterner. Yeah, impressive, but I don't like the lack of trees. Like, I feel like in Chicago, there's still trees. I feel like in New York, you have to go to the park to see a tree. It's too not Midwesty. It's fun and all that. And I like in New York that I can get 85 things done by noon, and I didn't even have to really try that hard. It's very convenient. But it's not, I don't think it's particularly pretty. Impressive, yes. To any Midwesterner. New York on the brink of war dazzled the senses. Oh. And I will give New York City excellent credit for hot dogs carts on almost every stand. I could just live there on that till I died of some sort of heart disease. Walter Liberace wandered Times Square with more than the customary awe of the first-time visitor. He stared at the animated signs far overhead, the movie palace marquees, heralding Frank Sinatra, Benny Goodman, Danny Kaye, and Betty Hutton in person. He shouldered through the crowd of sailors and soldiers and their brightly painted girls. He listened to jazz from outside the doors of the joints on the 52nd Street. The 52nd Street, that's a little project in New York, too, that Louis and I do charity things for sometimes, the 52nd Street project. His limited resources wouldn't allow him to enter. He found other unexpected pleasures. Attractive young men struck up conversations and invited him to theaters and parties. After years of repression, well, I don't know, the way he was dressing, Walter was a little bit out in Wisconsin, just a little bit. He was free to admit his homosexual desires and express his affection for men. He had always been forced to hide those feelings from schoolmates, his family, and friends. I think everybody kind of knew. Now, in New York, there was no one to watch him, no one to whisper. Well, that's true. He couldn't do anything there. I'm sure people would talk. But now he's in New York. He was liberated at last. Press clippings and letters of recommendations meant little to Broadway booking agents. Walter's rounds Walter's rounds of the agencies brought no prospects for his ambitions to appear in concerts or to play in stylish nightclubs. Finally, he won an audition at the Music Corporation of America, and one of the agents, Mae Johnston, agreed to represent him. One morning, Mae Johnston asked him, "How would you like to play the Persian Room at the Plaza?" "The Persian Room?" Walter said. "Are you kidding me?" "No, this is the McCoy. I don't mean you're going to be the headliner. They need an intermission piano player over there." "Oh, this is the McCoy." Right, okay. Oh, Walter had done the job before. It's the most thankless task a pianist could ever have, playing background music while the patrons gobbled their dinners and swilled their drinks between dance sets by the orchestra and the show floor. Maybe the job will be different at the Plaza, Walter told himself. Well, that's what he's good at, though. They're eating and he gets their attention. It wasn't. No, I guess it didn't work this time. If anything, the Persian Room guests were noisier and more inattentive than any he'd faced in any other nightclub intermission. The patrons, many of them Army and Navy officers paying stiff prices for an evening entertainment, seemed intent on enjoying it to the utmost. Walter played his Gershwin melody and the Grieg concerto in A minor to not a hint of applause. Well, I would applaud because I'm Midwestern polite, but I wouldn't know what I just heard. Gershwin medley in the Grieg concerto in A minor? Yeah, no. I got nothing on that. One part of the Persian Room date thrilled him. The star attraction was Hildegarde. Who's that? After Spencer Tracy and Pat O'Brien, she was Milwaukee's most famous show business figure. Walter had listened to her every week on the radio and had admired her bubbly sophistication and her subtle piano work. She was also written up in the Milwaukee Journal and the Sentinel. Oh. Walter knocked on her dressing room door and introduced himself, and she seemed genuinely pleased to meet that a fellow Milwaukeean was working on the same bill. Well, yeah. Every night, Walter stood off stage and scrutinized Hildegarde's performance. He noticed that the orchestra was augmented with additional strings and a harp. The lights in the Persian Room were lowered to darkness and held there until the noise at the table subsided. The orchestra played a rousing fanfare and spotlights shone on the stage. 6 chorus girls emerged in maids' uniforms carrying dusters. They danced around a grand piano that had materialized in the middle of the dance floor. As they dusted the piano, they sang of the coming of their mistress, the intimidable, the glamorous Hildegarde. Wow, this is quite a production. A piano just appeared. She swept into the room in a cloud of chiffon, her blonde hair piled on her head. Thunderous applause greeted her. She sat down at the piano to play and sing, "There'll be bluebirds over the white cliffs of Dover." Yep, I don't know that one either. The servicemen loved it, and she followed it with "Praise the Lord" and "Pass the ammunition." Nope. Then she announced it was time for something serious, and the room became silent as she played a Chopin nocturne, followed by a Fritz Kreisler etude. Etude? Etude. There's no accent on the end. Etude. What is all this shit? No wonder no one's clapping. I can't even read it. She continued with a collection of songs she'd made famous, finishing with "I'll Be Seeing You," which had servicemen and their dates crying. Oh, my God, how do you follow that? Oh, my God, you can't. A dancer dressed as a footman delivered a dozen long-stem roses, and she wandered through the room singing a tender song. One by one, she selected a man in the audience, gazed tenderly at him, and handed him a rose. Some had paid the head waiter $50 to be included. She gave the roses to servicemen, leaving their cheeks marked with a red kiss. Walter marveled at how Hildegarde maintained total control of her audience. She called admirals and gobs. What's a gab? G-O-B-S? Generals and GIs onto the floor, and she had the officers salute the enlisted men. Oh, that's good. Turn the tables. I get it. If a drunken customer became noisy, she played and sang, "Show him the way to go home." When a baby cried out, it was "Rockabye Baby, shut your little mouth." Wow. The audience roared in appreciation. They also did so when she brushed off the piano lid and sang "Dust a Song at Twilight." Just as the audience assumed a festival mood, she silenced them with her climactic number, a Gershwin medley of her arrangement of Irving Berlin songs. On the last note, the spotlight blacked out for a brief magical moment, the room was silent, and there was an onrush of cheers and applause. Hildegarde returned to bow deeply, but Walter noticed she never played an encore. Always leave them wanting more, she counseled him. I can just tell you, in comedy, encore, no. Some people go out and do questions afterwards. That's fine. But to go do more jokes, what are you going to do? I guess you could if you have a famous joke, you know, like a signature joke. If Ron saved tater salad for an encore, maybe. Just doesn't seem right in comedy. And then in rock, I feel like it's fake. Like, it's fake now. Why do we have to do this fake comeback? We know they're coming back, especially now because you can go online and read what they do in every other city. But we have to, please come back. It seems so silly to me to make people beg for you to come back. Walter sought relief from the work as an intermission pianist. He turned on his microphone and asked customers for request numbers. He was beginning to find a rapport with the audience, but the plaza management wanted nothing to interfere with the sale of drinks, and he was fired. Oh, no. He found other work in New York, filling in between the star attractions at nightclub like Rubin Blue, the Vanguard, and Spivvy's Roof. While his work was politely applauded, his major function was to provide intermission music and sometimes accompany it for performers such as Ella Fitzgerald. Oh, that's good. Imogene Coca, that's good. And the Roovers, which consisted of Betty Comden, Adolph Green. Wow, people were still named Adolph. So war hadn't, 41, it started. Judy Holliday and Al Hammer. Walter's average salary was $175 a week. Huh. Where is he living? I want to know, what do you get in New York in 1941 for $175 a week? Mae Johnson also booked Walter for stage shows at movie theaters and supper clubs out of town. During an engagement at the Mount Royal Hotel in Montreal, he was surprised when Mae appeared in the audience with 3 MCA executives. After the show, Mae came to Walter's room with an extraordinary opportunity. One of our most important clients, Eddie Duchin, is going into the Navy. We think you'd be the perfect choice to take over his band. What? You'll be able to use his musicians and arrangements. You'll be the new Eddie Duchin. Needless to say, the salary would be a lot more than you're getting here. How about it, Walter? The money and instant fame appealed to him, but he said no. Oh, no. I don't want to be another Eddie Duchin. I want to be myself. Oh, my God. Most people wouldn't have this guy has guts. From right there in Wisconsin all the way to now. The MCA chieftains were angry with their young client's refusal for a golden opportunity, and Walter's engagements dwindled. Oh, shit. Still, he never regretted passing up the Duchin replacement. He needed to establish his own identity, but he realized it would be difficult with the name Walter Liberace. In later years, he maintained that Paderewski had suggested to the boy prodigy that he adopt a single name, declaring, "Where would I be with the name Ignace?" The more likely story. The suggestion came in 1942 in a chance encounter with Paderewski's one-time manager, Charles Perkins. From that time on, he was Liberace. But how could people address him in normal conversation? "You can call me Lee," he always said with a smile. That's probably a good place to stop for tonight. Well, yeah, we'll close it down there. Guy had guts. He's turning down offers when he doesn't have the good money, and he could have had the fame. Instant fame. Here's a band. He knew. I gotta be me. What's that song? I gotta be me. Okay, termites. Everybody warm and cozy? It's almost springtime, right? Not really, but we'll say that. Why not? Who's getting vaccinated? Are we done with the over 70 crowd yet? We don't appear to be in the Midwest. Slow, but they say it's going to pick up the pace. Not sure how that's going to happen, but I'll be sitting right here in this boa. Unfortunately, the snow and ice has delayed my candelabra. I'm not going to complain about that, but I think it would be funny if I did complain. Sent a nasty little tweet to Amazon. "Where's my fucking candelabra?" So stupid. All right, termites, tuck yourselves in. Do you have your favorite sheets? All right. Close your eyes. Know that you're a good termite. You're a worthy termite. You're a warm termite, I hope. And that's it. Night, night, termites.